What's up, everybody? We're here to go over UFC 295. Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka was supposed to be Jones versus Miocic. Sorry. Um, Unfortunately, it's unfortunate we lost the main event, man. I was hoping to see Stipe fight. Anybody would have been nice, but I guess we'll put this off for another year or whatever, how long this is going to take. But I don't know. It's still, they added Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich, to the card, which is a good fight. I think a lot of people might be more excited to see that fight than they are Pereira versus Prochazka. I don't know. I mean, I kind of am. It's just too bad. Well, I guess it is for the interim title, so they could have made that the main event. I kind of would have liked to see that uh, as the main event. Either way, it's the same. Doesn't really matter. One fight apart. But yeah. So real quick, man, I'm going to go over the results for last week. We're coming off a very good, profitable, card. If you see here, these were my posted bets, the ones I posted ahead of time on my channel. Sharaput Magomedov, that fight hit. Did have crappy takedown defense, but did enough damage off of his back to seal the fight. Lost some value on the Ankalaev. I only got paid for Magomedov once again on that parlay. It was a 2-fight parlay. But they were pretty generous with me on the books for that, man. I ended up making about, I don't remember, I think about $700 on that bet. And then I had a Basharat and Nurmagomedov parlay, lost value on that because of the Basharat fight. But either way, I mean, I got a good price on Nurmagomedov. I think he was like a minus 215 or something. That was a 1 unit play. So came out good there, man. And I had another 3-fight parlay that hit. And, as always, I don't know if some people wonder or not why sometimes I post my tickets, why sometimes I don't. I post if I didn't post this 3-fight parlay ahead of time, so I screenshot the ticket and make a poster so y'all can see it. Um, it's easier for me, guys, to make I make these flyers with all my bets on them rather than going making a flyer for each bet, screenshot and everything. It's easier for me to just go back and have all the bets on one flyer than take that same flyer and add just the little the graphics that I do on there when they hit or whatever, the money bags or whatever. It's easier for me to do it like that than make a whole bunch of screenshotted tickets and all that stuff. So I only post the ones that the tickets if I didn't post them ahead of time, so y'all know I'm not lying to you or whatever. But yeah, this is a 3-fight parlay, man. Makayev, Aleskarov, and Nurmagomedov, and it cashed for $1,966. I had, I think, $900 on this parlay. So yeah, it was a good bit of profit there, man. All around, real good night. I think, yeah, Jubilee, Ansel Jubilee killed all my parlays, my bigger parlays. But I don't ever put a lot of money on those, man. If y'all watch the channel, y'all know I don't ever put more than $50 on those big parlays. If it's more than 3 fights, I don't ever put a lot of money on it because somebody always kills it. So yeah, very profitable event, man. And yeah, please like and subscribe, guys. It helped me out a whole lot. I appreciate all you guys that have been picking up a lot of subscribers. And if you're new to the channel, what I do is I go through and I give out all my picks, for the entire card, and then I give out my bets for free at the end of the video, man. And yeah, man, I'm slowly making my way to being what I feel like is a very legit channel, man. And I know because I used to watch a lot of channels, before when I was starting betting and stuff like that, and I know there's not anybody else out there that talks about fights like I do, like the skill sets and everything, and just in general the way that I do it. I think it's unique to me. And if there is anybody else doing it out there, they're still in my style or whatever because there wasn't anybody doing it like me before that. And some people like it, some people don't, man. I think it's just a process, and the channel will grow over time, But I did notice that I think my videos come out before everybody else, and I did notice I don't ever watch anybody else's videos anymore, but I will I follow a lot of them on Instagram or whatever, so I'll see what bets they had after the fact, and I noticed there's some other channels out there that are kind of I don't know if they're seeing my stuff ahead of time and making the same bets as me or whatnot, but I just noticed there was a little bit of that going on. Maybe they saw the value just like I did. There was some other channels that kind of were making the same bets as me, but whatever. So yeah, man, let's get into this card real quick. Get over to this. And what else was I gonna say? Was there anything else I needed to say? I don't guess so, man. So let's get into this card. And as far as fights that we lost, Derek Brunson versus Roman Dolidze, Brunson would have got destroyed in that fight. I mean, I don't even know. I don't think Brunson's even with the UFC anymore. I think I heard he got. Um, I think he might have left on his own. I don't know if he was cut. I think he's gonna try and go do something else somewhere or something like that. But I don't think he's with the UFC anymore. But Roman Dolidze is one of my new favorite fighters, and I was really looking forward to seeing him fight. It's too bad that they couldn't get him on this card. So, and then of course we lost the Jones Miocic fight, so that sucks. But yeah, there's a lot of fights on this card, man. I have the urge to make lots of a lot of bets on this card, and I went ahead and didn't do that, because there's a lot of fights on this card that I feel like could really just go either way, man. And there's not a whole lot of real strong leans for me on this card, um, that that I felt like I could get heavily invested in. But there are a lot of like a ton. I'm going to be picking a ton of underdogs on this, on this card. Um, and usually sometimes that doesn't work out very well for me. So that's why I'm fighting myself not to put any at least any straight up bets or any two fight parlays on any too much on here, because I'm not going to really get heavily invested in uh in the underdogs or anything on this. I mean, I'll have them in my parlays, my bigger parlays, but I just kind of kept it simple on this card rather than chasing a whole bunch, because I've been having some good weeks or whatever. So not gonna not gonna throw my money away making a bunch of bets I'm not sure about. I did have another bet that I was going to have, man. That I was going to have a Jamal Emmers, John Jones two fight parlay to get the price down on those two guys, because I feel like Emmers is a lock on this card. But yeah, so I mean they canceled the John Jones fight. The line on Emmers is too high for me to have kept the bet in. I wouldn't have made very much, so I just went ahead and dropped that. So, but yeah, man, let's get into this fight, or yeah, this first fight. First, we got Kyung Ho Kang taking on John Castaneda. And Kang is 36 years old, 5'9", with a 73-inch reach. He is 19-9 and 8-3 in the UFC. And the odds weren't up on this at the time of me doing my notes, but I do believe that Kane is he's a plus, I think it was a plus 134 underdog as earlier when I checked. So not that big of an underdog, which kind of changes my pick on this. I'm not sure. I'm still torn on this fight, man. But so Kang is very well rounded, man. He can do it all. Nice technical striking, good straight punches. He has good head movement. Uses his calf kicks very well. He's kind of underrated, man. He's a very good grappler, and he's very good on the ground. Dangerous jiu-jitsu. Has 12 wins by submission, 2 wins by knockout. He's been in the UFC since 2013. He just hasn't been as active as other guys, and I believe he had to go to the military for a few years at one time. I think everybody in Korea has to do that. The same thing happened with the Korean Zombie at one point. But Kang is coming off two really impressive victories, man, and I think he was an underdog in both of those fights. So in the Dana White or in the Dana fight, not Dana White, the Bagdrill Dana fight, he was just the cleaner striker, and he was able to beat up Dana from the outside. He has really nice balance. He doesn't lean too far over his lead leg. You don't see him stumbling around after throwing a combination. Doesn't overcommit. And in his last fight, he showed his power, man. He hurt Quinones and then dominated him on the ground and got full mount and locked in the choke, man, and looked very good, man. And he was a pretty good size underdog there. Uses his jab very well, and he's also kind of tall and long for the bantamweight division. He's going to have 3 inches of height and 2 inches of reach advantage in this fight. He's got very good cardio. This is a very tough fight to pick, man. And he's taking on John Castaneda. He's 31 years old, 5'6", with a 71-inch reach. He is 20-6 and 3-2 in the UFC, and I believe he was like a minus 145 or minus 150 favorite earlier today. Um, and yeah, John is he's a very good fighter, man. This is good matchmaking, and eh, it's a tough fight for me, man. I've been going back and forth on this one, and John has only really lost to, tough guys. He was dominating the Daniel Santos fight in the first round, but he gassed out badly in that fight. And I don't know if it was on short notice or if he had a bad weight cut, that caused that, because he seems to have fixed the problem since, and he never really had that problem before that. So that was kind of something that was isolated to just that fight. So not sure what was going on there. He's got really nice boxing, really sneaky high kick. He hit Santos with that and almost finished him in the first round. I was really impressed with his win over Miles Johns. I think that was the fight before the Now I gotta look. It was the fight before the Daniel Santos fight, and yeah, I mean Miles John's a very tough guy. You know, he got a good win not too long ago over Daniel Argueta. John has John Castaneda has 7 wins by knockout, 7 wins by submission. And in his last fight, he showed that he was the more technical fighter, landing nice, clean shots and countering the wide hooks of his opponent. I believe that was Gafarov, who just got finished in like 20 seconds by Nurmagomedov. You know, Gafarov was just like winging wide shots, you know, at him and stuff. And yeah, he was getting caught with some of them, but he was really rolling with the punches very well, and you know, using good head movement and just landing the cleaner, better shots. Um, so it's you know, he's well rounded. Hard to say who has the advantage on the feet here. You know, I would think Kang has the better grappling probably. You know, John Castaneda does have 71% takedown defense though, which is pretty good. He lands 4.24 strikes per minute. You know, he has 7 first round finishes. You know, whereas Kang has 57% takedown accuracy with 70% takedown defense. So they both have good takedown defense, and I think it might end up canceling it out here. You know, both ways, and it might just be out on the feet. Kang lands just over 3 strikes per minute. So if the stats are true, the fight will mostly play out on the feet, and John would supposedly land the better volume. Um, you know, this is a matchup where you know, at the time I had made up my mind to go with John Castaneda, and you know, but then I also thought I was like, man, you know, whoever the dog is probably the one to go with here, you know, because Kang's look very good. And yeah, since the lines have came out, you know, Kang is the underdog, and I think I'm gonna switch my pick to Kang and pick him here, man. And I'll take him to win. I'll take him to win by decision. Um, Not super confident in it, but I think it. You know, the value is on Kang from a betting standpoint, and he's looked very good, man. So I mean, you know, I can't, I can't say anything against him here. That's for sure. So originally, I thought Castaneda because everybody on Tapology was going with Kang, so I figured Castaneda would be the underdog. So I was going to pick him, but I'm going to take Kang, and I'm going to take him to win by decision. Next up, we got Tabitha Ricci taking on Lupita Godinez. This is an interesting matchup for sure. Um, this is not a fight that I was expecting to see anytime soon. So Tabitha Ricci is 28 years old, 5'1" with a 61-inch reach. She's 9-1 and 4-1 in the UFC, and she's a plus 150 underdog. And a lot of people are really high on Tabitha Ricci. You know, in fact, 70% on the people at Tapology think she's going to win, even though she's the underdog. You know, on the betting line. So I don't agree, man. I haven't found most of her performances all that impressive. She's only had one finish in the UFC, and it was over Jessica Panay, who hasn't won a fight since 2021, and she has 1 win by knockout, 3 wins by submission. Um, I'm not saying she's a bad fighter at all, man. Her record speaks for itself. You know, I mean, she is a good fighter. She just uses a lot of movement on the feet. She lands a lot of shots, but doesn't really hurt any of her opponents for the most part. She's a very good wrestler, but she has 49% takedown accuracy, 67% takedown defense. You know, on the feet, she has 47% striking accuracy and lands over just 4 strikes per minute, just over 4 strikes per minute. So it looks like she throws a ton of volume, but doesn't land as much of it as it appears, maybe. But nonetheless, she is very well rounded, and she's looked very impressive throughout her career, but just hasn't fought the best at competition. Her best win is probably over Gillian Robertson, um, which, you know, Robertson's really only good at one thing. So, and if she can't get you down, she's kind of screwed. So, and that's kind of what happened in that fight. Now, she's taking on Lupita Godinez. She is 30 years old, 5'2", with a 61-inch reach. They both have the same reach here. 1 inch height advantage for Godinez. She's 11-3 and 6-3 in the UFC, and she's a minus 175 favorite. So Loopy has fought the tougher competition, in my opinion. She has had the more dominant victories. She's looked amazing, you know, recently in her last fight, and I know it was a win over Elise Reed, so not the best competition, but she has made it look pretty easy, man. And she does have some bad losses on her record, some questionable losses that would make you kind of stop and think. But I feel like she's really turned a corner, you know, in her last few fights, her last 3 fights, and she's looked very good, man. And she has nice boxing. She's constantly improving. Her striking looks better every time we see her. Very good wrestling, dangerous jiu-jitsu. I believe she's going to have a big power and strength advantage in this fight. Her cardio has looked way better than it used to as well. She's really worked on that. She has no wins by knockout, but 3 wins by submission. She's never been finished. So comparing the numbers, man, they both have pretty much the same takedown accuracy at 49 and 48%. But But Godinez has the better takedown defense at 83%, and the better striking accuracy at 50% for Godinez as well. So she lands over just over 4 strikes per minute. So the numbers are all pretty close, except with the takedown defense, where Loopy has the advantage. Um, so that leads me to believe that this fight will play out on the feet probably, and where I believe that Loopy is the more powerful striker. And I'm going to take her to win by decision. I don't think Ricci's ever been submitted. I don't know if I guess she was finished by Manon Farrow in her debut. Um, but I think Godinez is going to win a decision here. I think she's going to land the more meaningful shots, and she might even get a takedown or two. Who knows, man? But Godinez has looked really good uh, in her last few fights, so I'm going to be taking her, man. Take her to win by decision. Next up, we got a really good matchmaking, really fun fight. Both these guys, I'm a really big fan of these guys. Uh, got Nazim Sadykhov taking on Vyacheslav Borshchev. And Nazim is 29 years old, 5'10 with a 69-inch reach. He is 9-1 and 2-0 in the UFC, and he's a minus 150 favorite. He has 6 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission. I'm very high on this guy, man. He has a pretty high ceiling, I think. And Nazim is a master of sport and combat sambo, lifelong martial artist, over 100 amateur fights, very explosive and powerful. Throws tons of very well placed kicks. He's a great counterpuncher, man. He's comfortable everywhere the fight goes. He has the wrestling in his back pocket. All but one of his wins have been by finish, and I like his spinning wheel kick and how he uses his uppercuts. Great takedown defense. He stays pressuring his opponents, man. He doesn't ever stop moving forward. There's not a lot of guys that can handle the kind of pressure that he brings, man. And I think that's going to serve him well in this fight. He can definitely take a punch as well. We saw that in the Evan Elder fight. His one loss was by submission. What else? What else? What else? In the first round against Terrence McKinney, he did give up a takedown and gave up his back, but he defended it, and didn't really take any damage or anything, and easily won in the next round. Did the same thing to Terrence McKinney. He shows 100% takedown accuracy, but that's just because he's only attempted a couple takedowns in the UFC and he landed them. Shows a 75% takedown defense, but since we're going off only 2 fights, I won't really go off the numbers here, because it's better to look at the numbers on UFC.com after they've had at least 3 or 4 fights, something more to go off of than just two fights. So he fights well from both stances, but he fights mostly southpaw, I believe, and he has a clear advantage in the wrestling and grappling in this matchup for sure. So um, I do think that's why there's such I have a very strong lean towards him in this fight because of the wrestling. He's taking on Vyacheslav Borislav. He's 31 years old, 5'11 with a 69-inch reach. He is 7-3 and 2-2 in the UFC. He's a plus 130 favorite, or sorry, plus 130 underdog. My bad. So I'm a fan of this guy's too, man. He's an amazing kickboxer, very powerful. He's going to have the striking advantage, probably the power advantage as well in this fight, man. He looked great in his last fight, a nasty knockout, but he was fighting another kickboxer in that fight. He didn't have to worry about the takedowns. He's very technical. I can't say enough good things about his striking. Really nice kicks to all levels. Very nice head movement, great striking defense, really fast hands, throws great combinations, nice counter striking, throws a lot of punches to the body, man. He never attempted to take down the UFC. He's got 35% takedown defense. So, I mean, that's kind of the story of this fight is if Nazim is smart, he can go out there and get an easy victory, take down Borshchev and get a submission. Because if Mark Diakase and Mike Davis can take down Borshchev, I think Nazim definitely can get the takedown. So I'm going to take Nazim to win, take him to win by second round submission. I just hope he's not. I hope he doesn't try to stay on the feet with Borshchev, man. That wouldn't be a very good idea. Next up, we got Denis Buzukja. Hope I'm saying that right. Versus Jamal Emmers. Um, Dennis is 26 years old, 5'9 with a 70.5-inch reach. He is 11-3 and 0-1 in the UFC, and he's a plus 270 underdog. And yeah, Dennis made his debut against Sean Woodson and was beaten pretty dominantly, everywhere. Looking at his record, most of his wins are over guys with really bad records. He has 4 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. He is powerful, man. He attempted 10 takedowns in his first fight in the UFC, and I think he only got one of them. There's not a lot of things I could say for him this matchup, honestly, man. And I've heard some things about this guy, some things he's done in the past that kind of make me, question him as a person as well. I mean, supposedly, I think he beat somebody up and got charged over it. Jumped some guy or robbed him or something. I don't remember what it was. Sorry. I guess that doesn't matter, but I don't know. I read something about that before his last fight, and it made me kind of not like him. But he's taking on Jamal Emmers. He's 34 years old, 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. He is 19-7 and 2-3 in the UFC, and he's a minus 330 favorite. And Emmers is a very skilled fighter, man. He's had nothing but tough fights in the UFC. You know, the level of competition that these guys face is not even close. I mean, Emmers beat a 23-0 guy just one fight ago, and he had a real close fight with Jack Jenkins in his last matchup. So, um, you know, he was dominating Pat Sabattini before Pat got the heel hook. Emmers is going to have a 3.5-inch reach advantage in this fight. He uses his reach very well. Nice straight shots from the outside. He has 7 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. Has really good takedown defense at 91%, and he lands almost 5 strikes per minute, averages almost 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. You know, he's better everywhere the fight goes here, in my opinion. You know, he made his debut up against Giga Chikazi and went to a split decision with him, so that's impressive. And I think Emmers is going to get his first finish in the UFC here, in my opinion. You know, most likely, and I'm gonna take him to win by third round TKO, man. And I know looking at Emmers' record in the UFC, if you just look at the numbers 2-3, it doesn't look all that impressive. But if you look at the level of competition and who he's been fighting and the performances he's had, mostly very close fights, and he is a very good fighter. So he's definitely deserving of the big number beside his name right here. Next up, we got Meitua's Rebecki taking on Norillo Aliev. And Rebecki is 31 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. He is 18-1 and 2-0 in the UFC. He's a minus 164 favorite. I think he's a little bit bigger favorite than that now. And I do apologize, guys, for being. I know I'm a couple days late. I usually put these out on Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday, even sometimes. Just with the changes to the card, I had to go back and do the work on Aspinall and Sergey. So I do apologize about being a few days late. So uh, where was I at? Okay, he's 18-1, 2-0 in the UFC, minus 164 favorite. Uh, this guy, he looked really dominant in his last fight against a guy that was like way bigger than him. A very tough guy who's fought all over the world. He can do it all, man. He hits very hard. He has amazing wrestling. 9 wins by knockout, 6 wins by submission. Very good submissions. Throws a ton of volume, mostly power shots, but he can do it for 3 rounds. Uh, pretty good head movement. Slips punches very well. Nasty calf kicks. Fights southpaw mostly. Great double leg takedowns and trip takedowns. Good at wrapping his opponent's legs up with his own from top position and holding guys down. This is a guy I'd love to see fight Islam or some of the better wrestlers in the division or Gamrot or anybody like that. And he has 67% takedown accuracy. He lands 5.57 strikes per minute, averages 3.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's very good, man. This is a very tough matchup for him, though. He's fighting an undefeated guy here. Um, Aliev is 22 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. He is 9-0 and 1-0 in the UFC, and he's a plus 144 underdog. So this guy is, he's a good wrestler. Most of his wins have gone to decision. He has 2 wins by knockout, no wins by submission. He has a height and 6-inch reach advantage in this fight, but Rebecki has the better striking in my opinion. This guy is Aliev is good at one thing, man. He's very good at it. If Rebecki can keep this fight on the feet, he will win this fight. Rebecki has pretty good wrestling and takedown defense as well. So who's to say that Aliev is gonna get him down? You know, Rebecki will have to keep moving forward and walking Aliev down, and so he won't be able to shoot those takedowns. I think Rebecki's more well rounded. I wouldn't be surprised if Aliev got the takedowns and got a boring decision win because he is a good wrestler. That's what he's good at. That's what he does. But I'm going to take Rebecki to get the win here by decision. Um, I think maybe Aliev hasn't really been taking on the best of competition yet. So I know he fought Alves in his debut, but Alves doesn't have a good takedown defense. So we'll see what he can do against a tough guy here. Next up, we got Jared Gordon taking on Mark Madsen. And Jared Gordon is 35 years old, 5'9" with a 68-inch reach. He is 19-6 and 7-5 in the UFC. He's a minus 195 favorite. and he's only lost to really tough guys, man. He won the Paddy Pimblett fight. I don't care what anybody says. He's coming off a no contest with Bobby Green because of a headbutt, but we got to face it. He did get knocked out either way there, whether it was a no contest or not. So it wasn't good for him. But his striking up to that point in that fight was looking pretty good. He does have all the skills, good wrestling and striking. He has 6 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission. The only thing that scares me about him is he's been knocked out 4 times in the UFC, man. But by really tough guys nonetheless. But he shows a 40% takedown accuracy with 63% takedown defense. He lands 5.32 strikes per minute. Averages just over 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. Really nice check left hook. I think he's the more well-rounded fighter here. Needs to work more on check and leg kicks, but I don't think Madsen really throws a whole lot of those. Very good control from top position, good ground and pound. I think he's the more well-rounded guy. Like I said, never really been that high on Mark Madsen. Mark Madsen is 39 years old, 5'8", with a 72-inch reach. He is 12-1 and 4-1 in the UFC, and he's a plus 170 underdog. So in my opinion, Mark has kind of got like a padded record, man. He's a good wrestler. I guess, he largely won fights by getting control time and not really doing any damage. I thought Vince Pichel won that fight based on damage because Madsen wasn't really doing much. And then we saw him get exposed by Grant Dawson. So, I mean, and that was what I was waiting for. I was happy to see that. He has 3 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. He went to a split decision with Clay Guida, and this is Clay Guida towards the end of his career. So that was kind of one of the first things that led me to realize that he's not that good. Um, his striking isn't very good. I'm sure he hits hard. He seems very strong. He's only had one finish in the UFC. He shows 67% takedown accuracy and 63% takedown defense. Averages 3 takedowns per 15 minutes. He could win a boring decision here. It's possible. I probably won't bet on this fight at all. I think I did end up putting Gordon in a parlay. But I'm going to go with Jared Gordon, man. I'm going to get him to win by decision, but I don't know, man. He could get caught with a good shot and put out, man. But I think he is the more skilled, better fighter here. It's just if the chin holds up or not. So, but I am going to go with Gordon here. Next up, we got Matt Schnell taking on Steve Erceg. And Schnell is 33 years old, 5'8", with a 70-inch reach. He is 16-7 and 6-6 in the UFC, and he is a plus 210 underdog. And Matt's a good fighter, man. He has all the skills, but his chin. I worry, I worry about him because he's been finished 5 times in the UFC, man, and he usually has quite a bit of. Well, I'll get to that in a second. He has 2 wins by knockout, 9 wins by submission, and he has 3 wins by triangle choke in the UFC, which is pretty impressive. He has trouble making weight, man, a lot, and which doesn't help the chin, I'm sure. He is very exciting to watch. He's kill or be killed type of fighter. He's got a 1.5 reach advantage here. I don't understand how the UFC does their statistics because it says he has 44% takedown accuracy, but it says he's landed 1 out of 9 attempts. So that doesn't doesn't seem to add up very well. So I'm not sure about that, but he's got 47% takedown defense. He does have good striking. He's tough. He goes to war, but it's hard to pick someone you see get finished or rocked or hurt or dropped in every single fight. So very hard to pick him. And he's taking on Steve Erceg. He is 28 years old, 5'8", with a 68.5-inch reach. He is 10-1 and 1-0 in the UFC, and he's a minus 245 favorite. And he made his debut against David Dvorak and won pretty dominantly, man. And Dvorak's a pretty tough guy, man. I know he's on a bad run right now, but he's been fighting nothing but killers. So Erceg has 1 win by knockout, 6 wins by submission. He is primarily known for his grappling before the UFC, but his striking looked pretty good as well in his debut. And throws a real nice right high kick, doesn't wind up on it at all. Nice striking defense, keeps his hands where they're supposed to be most of the time. Throws nice front kicks up the middle. I do think he has the grappling advantage in this fight. Schnell may be the better striker, but with his chin that way, I don't know if. I think if Erceg lands a shot, he could probably hurt Schnell, especially with the right hand. And I'm going to be going with Erceg here, man. I think he's going to land a big shot and put Schnell away, maybe jump with submission or something. But I'm gonna take him to win by second round finish. Next up, we got Joshua Van taking on Kevin Borjas. And Joshua Van is 22 years old, 5'5" with a 65-inch reach. He is 8-1 and 1-0 in the UFC. He's a minus 245 favorite. And he looked really good in his debut, man. Very nice boxing, really fast hands. He's very young. He's going to keep improving. Regardless of what anybody thinks, Zimagulov isn't a bad fighter in my opinion. He just couldn't catch a break in the UFC, and um, so it was an impressive win that Josh was able to beat him in his debut, I think, and he uses his jab very well. He's very dangerous in the pocket, throws nice uppercuts, has great cardio, puts out a ton of volume. Really picks up the pace throughout the fight, man, and keeps going, into the third round even harder. And his takedown defense held up in his debut. Supposedly, he just started working on wrestling not that long ago, so maybe that's a question mark against on that. He has 5 wins by knockout and 2 wins by submission. Once he finds his rhythm and gets his timing down, he really starts busting guys up. And very, very nice hands, really fast combinations, very good at using his feints to set up his strikes. Um, Not going to go into the stats because they're based off of only one fight, but he is very good. Great head movement. I am curious to see how well his takedown defense holds up against somebody that is really pushing the wrestling on him. That's not going to be in this fight. I don't believe both these guys like to strike. This should be a very fun fight. He's taking on Kevin Boris. He is 25 years old, 5'5", with a 68-inch reach, 9-1, and this is going to be his UFC debut, and he's a plus 210 underdog. Sorry, I can't talk. And he's coming off a win on the first episode of this season's Contender Series, and he fights extremely aggressive. All but one of his wins have come by knockout. Obviously, the hands are pretty heavy, man. Extremely fun to watch. Both these guys are similar in that they love to strike. With both of these guys, their only losses have been by submission, both of them. So, obviously, I don't think they're going to be out there trying to submit each other. But, Kevin did have a little bit of trouble in the first round of the Contender Series fight. Got taken down, but fought through it. And he just did way more damage while his opponent was just constantly trying to take him down and gassing himself out, trying to wrestle him, and just not doing anything. And he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight, and he uses reach very well. He has great cardio, really nice kickboxing, great calf kicks, which could serve him well in this fight as well. And I'm actually excited for this match. I'm excited to get to see Borjas striking in the UFC against an opponent that's going to fight, that kind of fight with him. Um, and the guy on Contender Series just kept him constantly defending takedowns. It was kind of he couldn't really do as much as he should have been able to, because of that. So it wasn't a you didn't really we didn't really get to see everything out of him that we could have. And he has a very nice jab, man. He keeps his hands in good defensive positions, except when he's being very wild. But he does do that a lot. Don't get me wrong. He does fight very aggressively. He does get wild, but if Boras can keep this fight at distance and use his reach and his straight punches, he could absolutely win this fight. And one thing I will say is Boras has a ton of amateur fights as well. At least 17 fights or more as an amateur. So he does have a big edge in experience either way. And I think the power advantage as well goes to Boras. Maybe the crisper, cleaner boxing to Joshua Van. Um, this is a hard pick that I've gone back and forth on as well, man. And I definitely think the value is on Borjas. And this could be possibly fight of the night, man. I mean, other than Saint Denis and and Matt Frevola. I'm not super confident in this pick, man, and I'm not going to get heavily invested in this fight, but I don't want to pay that big of a price for Joshua Van. Originally, I was thinking I was going to go with him. Um, but I think I'm going to pick Boras to win this fight, man, and put him on my parlays as an underdog because his striking is actually very good, man. He's a very good kickboxer. I think he's actually a more well-rounded striker than Joshua Van because his kicks are way better. He uses more kicks. He's got great high kicks and calf kicks. So that part of the game will play out on the feet and probably help him a little bit. But I wouldn't be shocked at all. Joshua Van won. But I do think I'm going to be going with Boraz in this fight and not super confident in it, but I'm going to be going with him, and I'll take him to win. I don't know if these guys are going to finish. I'll take him to win by decision. Next up, we got Matt Frevola taking on Benoit Saint Denis, and it's good matchmaking. Crazy fight to bet on for sure. Matt Frevola is 33 years old, 5'9", with a 71-inch reach. He is 11-3-1 and 5-3-1 in the UFC, and he's a plus 175 underdog. And yeah, Matt is a monster, man. He fights like he's a knockout or be knocked out kind of guy, and very very heavy with the forward pressure and that has cost him before rushing in like that. You can get caught with a shot running in. I mean, he's done it before. That's what happened to him against Terrence McKinney. So um, he does have a wrestling background as well. So that's how he was able to beat Jalen Turner back in the day. He uses wrestling and Matt will have the power advantage over most people because he throws everything into every shot. And the crazy thing is this knockout puncher kind of thing that he's got going on right now is relatively new for him because before his last three fights, he only had one knockout in his career. So this is kind of a new thing. He has 4 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. Obviously a knockout win over Drew Dober is something serious, and it's really impressive. And this is another fight of the night candidate, man. These guys both fight the same aggressive, constant forward pressure. Frevola does show 36% takedown accuracy with 43% takedown defense. I wouldn't say Matt has very technical striking. Everything is kind of power and big shots. But he can do it for 3 rounds, man. He can keep it going. He doesn't get tired. I wouldn't be surprised if he landed a big shot and won this fight at all. Would not shock me. But he's taken on Benoit Saint Denis. He is 27 years old, 5'11 with a 73-inch reach. He is 12-1 and 4-1 in the UFC, and he's a minus 205 favorite. And Denis is very well rounded, man. Great grappling, nice trip takedowns, good striking as well. But I think he would be smart to use his grappling in this fight. Definitely, he shouldn't stay on the feet with Frevola. At least in the first round, he should use his grappling for sure. He would be smart to get the takedowns and wear on Frevola for a bit before trying to strike with him. And I was very impressed with Denis. Kind of out grappling Moises, and nobody thought he was going to go through Moises that easily. I don't think, but he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage in this fight. Denis can definitely take a shot. We saw that in his debut up a weight class at 170. Um, he fights well from the southpaw stance, 80% takedown defense, averages 4.72 strikes, 4.72 takedowns per 15 minutes. Um, 3 wins by knockout, 9 wins by submission. All of his wins have been by finish. Really nice kicks to the body. Both these guys, get reckless and leave openings. This is a scary fight to bet on. I'm going to be going with Saint Denis because of the grappling advantage, but if he can't get Frevola down, he may get knocked out. There's no way around it. So I'm going to take Denis to win by maybe a late submission, like round 3. But this is a scary fight, man. I would not put money on the. I mean, I'll put it in my big parlays, but I wouldn't put any serious money on this fight at all. Running out of breath, talking too much. Next up, we got Pat Sabattini taking on Diego Lopes. And this is an interesting matchup, man. So Pat Sabattini is 33 years old, 5'8 with a 70-inch reach. He is 18-4 and 5-1 in the UFC, and he's a minus 142 favorite. And this is a fight between two great submission artists. Pat has 12 wins by submission, 1 win by knockout. Pat doesn't have very good striking at all, man, but he is such a great grappler that if you let him get going, he's going to get you down. He's going to control you and keep you down. He's very good with his trips up against the cage, body lock takedowns. Most of his wins have been over guys who have struggled to get or never got wins in the UFC. So that's something to think about as well. But his best win was over Jamal Emmers, but he was losing that fight before he got the submission. He has really good head position up against the cage. It says he has 45% takedown accuracy, but I'm guessing that's because once he gets guys down, they're pretty much down the entire time. They don't get back up, and he averages 3.83 takedowns per 15 minutes, almost 4 takedowns, per fight. And he only lands 1 point almost 2 strikes per minute, pretty much 1.995. Which is because he's always on the ground. Most of those don't count as significant strikes, I'm sure. So that doesn't really do him justice, I guess. But he is very good at what he does, man. But he is very one-dimensional. And he's taken on Diego Lopes. He is 28 years old, 5'11 with a 72.5-inch reach. He is 22-6 and 1-1 in the UFC. And he's a plus 122 underdog. And this guy has dangerous jiu-jitsu as well, man. 12 wins by submission, 8 wins by knockout. So you can see who is the more well-rounded fighter here of these two. He has the better striking, even though he's kind of wild on the feet at times, but he does have good power, and his hands are very dangerous. He's dangerous off of his back. Neither of these guys have ever been submitted. He made his debut up against Movsar Evliev, man, and made a pretty good account of himself. Almost landed a few submissions from the bottom. Has very nice calf kicks. I could see this fight going either way, man. Lopes is so good off of his back, which is where Pat's going to want to keep him. Um, he does have bad takedown defense, but it's mostly because he's not scared to go on his back. Like he jumped into a triangle and landed on his back in his last fight and got the choke. So he's not scared to be on his back at all. So it's not like he's really trying to stuff takedowns either. So It's hard to say, he's going to submit Pat Sabattini because nobody has. But I do think he's the better fighter, honestly, and I'm sure Pat will get him down. But will he be able to not get submitted? I don't know that. So I mean, I know most people are going with Pat. I'm going to be going with Lopez. I do think Lopez has more weapons to get the job done. I think he even has better submissions than Pat. So I'm going to take him to win. I have no idea how, but I want to say Lopez by submission, but no one's ever submitted Pat. So I don't know. I guess I'll take him to win by submission. Fuck it. I'll go for it. Take him to win by late submission. Next up, we got Jessica Andrade taking on Mackenzie Dern. And yeah, so, I'm not putting too much faith in Jessica Andrade anymore. So, Jessica Andrade is uh, 32 years old, 5'1", with a 62-inch reach. She is 24-12 and 15-10 in the UFC, and she's a plus 166 underdog. And I gotta say, I respect her for all that she has done. She's done a lot. She's ex-champ. But I'm done putting faith in her at this point in her career. She's looked terrible in her last three fights. She's been finished three times in a row. Has 9 wins by knockout, 8 wins by submission. But her takedown defense just hasn't looked good, man. And she does hit very hard. She has decent striking, and up until Dern's last fight, I would have maybe said that Andrade had the better striking, but Dern's striking looked pretty good in her last fight. So there's not a whole lot I can say here in favor of Andrade based on how she's been performing. I just kind of think she's getting towards the end of her career here, man. And they're also, if they're gonna if she's gonna keep fighting, maybe she should, take a little bit step down in competition. Maybe fight a few, guys that are or girls that have had one or two fights in the UFC, to get her back in the win column and try to build her back up because she just hasn't been looking good, here lately. Has been fighting tough fighters, don't get me wrong, but just I've been really disappointed in the way she's been fighting. I do think I might have picked her in two of those last three fights. So she's taking on Mackenzie Dern. She is 30 years old, 5'4", with a 63-inch reach. She's got a 1-inch reach advantage. She is 13-3 and 8-3 in the UFC, and she's a minus 185 favorite. And yeah, I mean, I think she's better everywhere here at this point. And definitely in Andrade's career, I think Dern's better here. And Dern's a good grappler, nice takedowns, have 7 wins by submission. She fought very aggressive in her last fight, man, and it was a dominant performance over Angela Hill, who is one of my favorite fighters. So I was kind of shocked she did so well in the striking against Hill. And she did it for 5 rounds, man. Very impressive, very dominant, and I think Dern's going to get Andrade down here and get a submission, man. I mean, not much more to it. So as far as what round, I mean, I don't know, man. Let's say second round. I mean, it could be late. It could be late. I don't know, but this depends on when she starts trying to use her takedowns. I guess I'll say second round submission here. Um, yeah, second round submission. Next up, we got the co-main event: Sergey Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall. And yeah, I wasn't expecting to see this fight. This soon. I was thinking we were going to be waiting a while to see this. Excuse me. So yeah, so Pavlovich is 31 years old, 6'3", with an 84-inch reach. He is 18-1 and 6-1 in the UFC. And let me pull up the odds real quick. I do believe that he's a slight underdog. It might be a pick'em now. I don't know. Let me check real quick just to make sure. Did I write? I didn't write them down. I think money's coming in on Pavlovich because Tom was actually a bigger favorite before. So yeah, Sergey Pavlovich is minus 105 right now. So money has came in on him because Tom was a bigger favorite the other day. Tom is minus 115. Um, and Pavlovich is he's got 15 wins by knockout. Never won or lost a fight by submission. He's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage. He has really nice crisp boxing, good combinations, good fundamentals in his striking. He is pretty fast for such a big guy, man, and it's just his power that sets him apart from everybody else, man. He hits very hard. It's nasty. He's fought the tougher competition, I think, as well. I would say, and like his last three fights have been against pretty tough guys. And obviously, we didn't get to see Aspinall complete his fight with Curtis Blades, so we didn't get to see that, the answer to that question, I guess, or however you want to put it. So, um, but Pavlovich was, Curtis Blades was catching Pavlovich with some shots in that fight as well. Um, so but he's taking on Tom Aspinall. Tom is 30 years old, 6'5" with a 78-inch reach. He is 13-3 and 6-1 in the UFC as well. And I said he's a minus 115. 9 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission. And yeah, Tom's got the better footwork, man. He's more explosive. He's and athletic. He's very powerful himself, and he's the more well-rounded fighter here. I think his speed and accuracy are on point, man, and probably has the better cardio as well out of these two if it gets out of the first round. I think he has the better wrestling and submissions. And originally, I had it in my mind that I was going to go with the underdog and Sergey because this is just a scary fight to bet, and I'd rather take the higher value or whatever, But man, I went back this morning and watched all of these guys' fights, and it didn't take very long, by the way, to watch them because most of them were first round finishes. And uh, it's the speed and explosiveness of Tom that I think will win him the fight here. I think if he stays on his bike and uses his footwork, dancing around Sergey, not giving him a chance to set up his strikes, and just blitzes in and then back out of the pocket, I think he can win this fight. And he could even play it safe and stay out of range and pick his shots from the outside for a round just to kind of slow Sergey down. Um, I'm going to take Tom to win by submission. I think he sets him down with a big shot and then gets on top, and Sergey won't be able to get back up. But scary fight though, and I don't know, man. Just after watching the tape, it was just the movement and the speed and everything of Tom Aspinall compared to what I was seeing from Sergey Pavlovich that that really gave me a strong lean towards Aspinall, enough so that I went and put a little bit of money on him. So um, I think Tom can win this fight, and I hope he does. I'm more of a fan of his than I am of Pavlovich. So next up, we got the main event, man. Yuri Prochazka taking on Alex Pereira, and so he's 31 years old, 6'3" with an 80-inch reach. He is 29 3-1 and 3-0 in the UFC, and he's a plus 125 underdog. And I kind of find that it's kind of crazy for both these guys. At least Yuri has a really big MMA record, but Pereira hasn't had that many fights in the UFC, and he's already held a belt and lost it, and now he's fighting for another belt. So uh, just crazy how these guys have just jumped to the top so quickly. But I do see why. I do see why. So um, where was I at? So yeah, Prohaska has a big record, man. He's got 25 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. He has only 1 win by decision in his career, man. He's an amazing kickboxer with a very weird style. He's different, keeps his hands real low, uses a lot of goofy head movement, very good at creating angles and firing shots from weird positions, and he's very accurate too. It can appear pretty sloppy, but it's effective and very accurate with his punches. I think I already said that. My bad. He's not much. He's not much of a grappler, really, but he did submit Glover Teixeira, so I mean, I would say he probably has the edge in the grappling in this matchup. He's got, over 30 MMA fights. So, I mean, I think he would have the advantage there. And, yeah, he throws a lot of volume. He fights well from both stances. He switches a lot. Hasn't fought in over a year, and, he's coming back off an injury. Uh, and, he never lost the title, man. Coming back off an injury, that's the only thing that really makes me nervous about picking him to win this fight, honestly. It's just, that he's been out and coming off the injury, and we just don't know what we're going to get from him. But hopefully he's fully prepared, man, and ready to go. He's taking on Alex Pereira. He is 36 years old, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach. He is 8-2 and 5-1 in the UFC. He's a minus 145 favorite, and we all know the story here. Amazing kickboxer, very technical, great calf kicks, coming off a win over Jan Bolchevich, which wasn't as impressive of a win as I expected it to be, man. It was a split decision win, and I think he's the more technical striker here, but Yuri is just so unorthodox. He may have trouble getting the timing on Yuri. Um, Obviously, his weaknesses are his takedown defense, and if Yuri can get the takedowns, he could have success. It's hard to pick against either of these guys because I'm such a big fan of both of them. They're both so good. Um, just because Alex hasn't looked as impressive as I thought he would at 205, I think I'm going to go with Yuri here, man. Kind of hard for me to pick this, man. I think I'm going to go with Yuri in this fight. He's the underdog. It's a better value. Um, I'll take him to win by submission, round 3 or late submission, kind of like the Teixeira fight, man. He's probably going to make the fight pretty crazy and like he always does, and probably take a lot of shots and give a lot of shots. I mean, that's what he tends to do, and makes it a war. So let's just see. We'll see what happens, man. But I'm gonna take Prochazka, uh, put him in my parlays, but no serious money on that. But yeah, man. That's all my picks, guys. Sorry, I've been talking so much for so long now that my nose is all messed up. So, um, yeah, I'm sure y'all wanted to hear that, right? So as far as my bets go, guys, I've got pull this up so y'all can see it. I got a small play on Nazim Sadykhov at minus 150. It's just a half unit play. I have a 2-fight parlay that's Mackenzie Dern and Steve Erceg, and it's plus 105, and it's a 1 unit play. So yeah, as long as that hits, I'll be good no matter what. And then I do have a small play on Tom Aspinall at minus 115. That's a half unit play as well. Not too much going on in this card, man. Just a lot of risky fights on this card, so I'm not. I didn't want to get heavily heavily invested in it really. So that's it as far as those, man. As far as parlays go, I had to use for whatever reason, guys. Bovada does not have their doesn't have the lines for this, all the lines up for this fight yet, and that's also part of the reason that I was waiting until Friday. I usually use Bovada for everything. I do use my bookie sometimes and bet now. So I was able to get 2 of my parlays, get screenshots of them, and I'll just have to tell you what I added to them because I couldn't get a good screenshot of them to put them on there for you and take a picture of them so you could see them. So first fight parlay is 5 fights. It's Mackenzie Dern, Benoit Saint Denis, Steve Erceg, Lupi Godinez, and Jamal Emmers, and that was a hold on, that was a plus 519 parlay, and then to that, where is it? To that I added Metuis Rebecki and Nazim Sadykhov, and that's a plus 1,443. And so to that, I added Prochazka and Diego Lopes, and that's a plus 7,298. And then after that, I only added Jared Gordon, and that's a plus 11,297. Uh, there were some fights I left off, man. I probably would make another one and add Tom Aspinall, but I already made these, so whatever. But I don't know, man. There's a lot of fights on this card that I'm scared to get super committed to or whatever. So not much going on this card, but hopefully I played it safe and hopefully I come out with some good wins here and some good money. So uh, that's it for me, guys, man. I really appreciate all you guys for caring what I have to say. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe, and let me go back and check to make sure there's hasn't been any changes to the other card that I don't know about, to this weekend's card that I need to talk to y'all about because I'm terrible at. I'll say that I'm going to make a video because there's a change on a card, and then I'll forget to do it. But let's just make sure that I've gone over all these fights for UFC Sao Paulo. Did that. Looks like everything's pretty much the same. Yeah, we just lost that one fight. We lost the David Onama fight, which sucks because that'd been a fun fight. But yeah, man. So we nothing there. Yeah, man. That's it for me, guys. Thank you so much, man. Y'all have a good one. Hope y'all win some money, man. And oh yeah, I guess I forgot to do I forgot to tell y'all my social medias. Um, TikTok and Instagram are both highkick_fight picks. And I post all my bets and stuff on there if you don't want to watch my videos. And then there's a group on Facebook, High Kick Fight Picks on Facebook. And I mean, there's not that many members yet, but a lot of people post their bets and stuff in there too. So and they bet different than I do. They bet props and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see. It gives you more ideas of what to bet on. And so yeah, man, find that group and thank y'all, man. I'm out of here.